As a child, Elliot often felt unseen and unheard. His parents were physically present but emotionally distant, and affection was rarely offered. When his partner died unexpectedly, the grief felt both familiar and confusing. He found it difficult to reach out for support or even to cry. Beneath his sadness was something deeper, a lifelong ache from attachment wounds resurfacing with the loss. He grieved not only the death of his partner, but the emotional blueprint that shaped how he loved and lost. Welcome to this mini-series on understanding the language of grief, loss and trauma. My name is Nathalie Himmelrich. I'm a somatic practitioner, psychological therapist, educator and author, specializing in grief and trauma, and the host of the How to Deal with Grief and Trauma podcast. Grief and trauma are deeply human experiences, yet many of us struggle to describe what we are going through, or to understand what others are facing. The vocabulary of loss is vast, varied, and sometimes overwhelming. In this short podcast episode series, we'll explore the different types of grief, loss, and trauma that people encounter throughout life. Each mini-episode serves both as an educational tool and a compassionate companion for anyone trying to make sense of their own experience with grief, loss and trauma, or someone who is supporting someone else who is. These terms are more than labels. They are doorways into greater understanding, healing and connection. Whether you are a bereaved parent, a caregiver, a therapist, or someone walking alongside a grieving friend or someone who has experienced trauma, these bite-sized episodes aim to give you language, insight, and tools. Each one includes a definition, some key considerations, an explanation of why it matters, relevant podcast episodes, and frequently asked questions that I have been asked by my clients and you, the listener of the podcast. And my answers are all grounded in both professional and lived experience. So let's begin. Disrupted attachment grief refers to the emotional pain and distress experienced when significant bond with a caregiver or loved one is broken, often due to loss, neglect, or separation. This type of grief can lead to difficulties in forming secure relationships and may affect an individual's emotional well-being throughout their life. It also refers to the complicated mourning process that arises when early attachment wounds, such as inconsistent caregiving, emotional neglect or abandonment, interfere with how someone connects to others and grieves loss. It can make grief more confusing, prolonged, or emotionally dysregulated. Healthy attachment in childhood builds the foundation for emotional resilience in adulthood. So when that foundation is shaky, grief can trigger feelings of insecurity, fear of abandonment, or emotional shutdown. People may struggle to trust others with their pain, or may feel numb, disconnected, or overly self-reliant. Disrupted attachment grief often goes unrecognized. It may look like indifference or emotional avoidance, when underneath is a deep fear of unresolved pain. So understanding this type of grief uncovers the relational root of emotional struggles and opens space for healing attachment patterns alongside grief. I will create a future episode where I will explain the similarities and differences between disrupted attachment grief and developmental trauma. So one question that I received is, what causes disrupted attachment? As mentioned before, it's through inconsistent caregiving, emotional neglect, abuse, or lack of secure bonding in early life. This is extremely difficult to notice if what you should have had as a child is missing. So not necessarily something bad has happened, but the emotional attachment or attunement didn't occur. So how does this affect grief? It can lead to avoidance, numbness, guilt, or difficulty seeking support during bereavement. So is this the same as attachment trauma? It overlaps. So disrupted attachment is a relational wound that can affect the grieving process. So as I said, in a future episode, I will talk more about the similarities and differences. So can someone with avoidant attachment still feel grief? Yes, but they may suppress or hide it, even from themselves. So what does healing look like? Healing can look like building secure relationships, developing emotional literacy. It can be achieved through emotional informed therapy and safe co-regulation. So make sure you find a therapist that is trauma literate and grief literate. Is it too late to repair attachment wounds in the now? Never. Healing is possible at any age with the right support and intent. So this concludes the series on grief-related terms. Next up will be trauma-related. I hope this episode has helped you feel more grounded in the language of loss, grief, or trauma, and maybe even offered you some clarity, validation, or insight into your own experience or the experience of someone you care about. Grief and trauma are deeply personal, yet universal. When we can name what we're feeling, we take one powerful step closer to healing and the integration of our experience back into our life. If this series resonates with you, I invite you to keep exploring. You'll find more resources, courses, and ways to work with me at nathaliehimmelrich.com. And of course, you're always welcome to revisit any of the episodes whenever you need a gentle reminder that you're not alone. Until next time, take good care of your heart.